Hello everybody, Mannix here. Welcome to the Knife Review. Let me just say thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe, hit that little bell button if you want more knife reviews. I'm making weekly videos now. Check out my knife reviews playlist if you want to get right to the chase and just see the knife videos. But I also have knife comparison videos, locking mechanism videos, lighter videos, flashlight videos, EDC videos, etc. Now, let's get right into the review. This is on the Cold Steel Rajah III. I love this knife. Fell in love with it. It wasn't a knife I would go out of my way to buy at first. I actually got it in a group of other knives I bought, happened to be in the pile, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I don't have one, I'll take it. And I love it. I absolutely love this knife. If you like the Rajah II, or the Rajah I, if you still happen to have one of those lying around, it's the shrunken down version of that. More specifically, the Rajah II, though. A shrunken down Rajah II, and I'll roll one in towards the end of the video here. Folding, badass, strong kukri. That's essentially what this is, but instead of being almost a full-size kukri sword in your pocket, it's more close to the size of a typical EDC knife, but absolutely can double as a tactical slash defensive slash martial, whatever you want to call it, blade. So it's very, very impressive as far as that goes. It doesn't need to be a 6-inch blade to be tactical. If the knife is executed well, which this one is in a lot of ways, it can be an absolutely powerful, capable, tactical folder without looking too scary or looking illegal or something like that. This is, in most places, going to be a legal knife to carry because of its size. It's chunky. It's real chunky, big, relatively heavy knife. Not the heaviest, but it's certainly not a lightweight either. Flush-mounted stainless steel liners that are not skeletonized in there, just FYI. Triad lock. Essentially, it's a lockback with a stop pin in there, which makes it one of the strongest locking mechanisms in the world, believe it or not. Thumb plate on here, which is waveable off the pocket. However, it's not super wide. It's a little on the slim side, so you will need to practice with it to wave it off. However, there is an advantage to that, and to me, I think overall it is an advantage because the wider thumb plates that they put on a lot of their other knives that are waveable accidentally snag on my pocket when I'm trying to just take it out of my pocket and open it conventionally. When I do not want to wave it off, sometimes my Tawar or even the Rajah II, I'll be pulling it out, trying to pull it out normally, and I'll have it on just the wrong angle, and I'll find out the blade's half open when it's in my hand. Like, oh, it kind of freaked me out, and then I'll try to open it from there. This one doesn't really have that problem because it's smaller, but again, you have to purposefully wave it off your pocket if you choose to do so. It's an advantage and it's a disadvantage. It's kind of like an automatic knife having a button that's easy to get to. Yeah, it deploys out a lot quicker, but you could accidentally deploy it easier. That's just the nature of the beast. There is no best of both worlds. I don't think you kind of got to take one or the other. But this one's just going to be a little bit more difficult to deploy that way, which overall I'm going to say is an advantage for a smaller knife anyway. Works just fine other than that, though. Super fast. You do need to give it a bit of a wrist flick because the tension on here is a little bit lighter compared to some of their other triad locking knives, and I think the reason for that is to make it more easy to wave off. There's less resistance. Yeah, it sucks back into place every single time, but the issue is flicking it out will be a little bit more difficult because you can't build up as much pressure without it releasing because there's not as much tension in there. You just got to give it, it's still easy to flick out, you just got to consciously give it a wrist flick rather than relying on no wrist flick at all. Don't even try it. It's probably just going to close back on you and you'll cut yourself. So just give it a little wrist flick. It is very fast. You just got to get used to that. And of course, it is waveable off the pocket, as I already mentioned. Very strong because of that triad lock. AUS 10A blade steel on the latest model, as I'm filming this, June 2022. Used to be AUS 8A. They briefly switched to, I want to say, CTS BD1. Now they're at AUS 10A. Great blade steel. Essentially, it's AUS 8 just with more carbon content in it, so I say it's an upgrade overall. Let's get the specs out of the way. Usually I do that first, but I didn't. It retails at $109.99, but you can get this for around $60, maybe $65. Higher end's going to be $70, lower end maybe if you're lucky $55. But I see these around $60 right now. Totally adequate for what you're getting here. Weighs 5 ounces on the nose, according to Cold Steel's official website. Handle length is 4.875 inches. Blade length, 3.5 inches. Overall length coming in at 8.375 inches. Grivex handles right here. Basically, I think it's a reinforced FRN. It's like FRN, but they have a slightly higher content of glass in there, or fiberglass. So if anything, this is a little bit stronger than the typical FRN. Worst case scenario, it's as strong as FRN. Not a big deal. Tip up carry only. However, they give you a second pocket clip that you can place on the left spot of the knife right here if you are a lefty. Other than that, it is 100% ambidextrous, ambidextrous locking mechanism, ambidextrous thumb plate. Comfortable. It's really chunky. It's a really, really thick handle. If you're a gun guy, into Glocks at all, yeah, it feels like a Glock in hand. It's a chunky handle. There's a lot to hold on to, though. It's an advantage overall, I think, but it will take up more space in your pocket. Some people like the slimmer knives. I like them too, but I also like thicker knives. I like them both for different reasons. For users, for tactical blades, I like the thicker handles. There physically is more for your hand to hold on to. It is more hand filling. I find it to be a little bit more comfortable. It doesn't pinch at your hand as much. Not that thin knives pinch at you, but you know what I'm saying, hopefully. No jimping up here. Some people are going to be disappointed by that. It is what it is. I would prefer to have jimping, but I don't care whether a knife has it or not, so it's not going to be a deal breaker for me. And again, we have a lot to grip onto, so it's not entirely necessary, I don't think. Have some nice texturing on this handle right here. If you look closely, it's a very unique pattern. Almost feels like skateboard tape or a semi-aggressive sandpaper. It's actually pretty grippy. In comparison to the previous Rajah III, back when they put the AUS 8 on there, this is going almost a decade ago. But I don't think they had this same texturing on here. It was a bit smoother. So it's a lot grippier now. I like the pattern on here. It's very nice, chunky monkey, a nice, stout, chunky, fat little knife, and I like it. It's nice looking. Love the kukri blade shape right there, which means you're going to have accelerated chopping and slashing motions. Very nasty, very menacing. It's going to have a strong tip on there, as you can see. So it's going to be good for piercing as well. We have a big old guard right here. Nice little choil for the finger there. Somewhat of a second choil. It's basically just the guard, but you can choke up on here if you want. Place your middle finger in that index finger choil right there. And the edge, for some reason, they don't actually have it start after the choil on the Ricasso. It kind of gradually starts. I don't know why some of the Cold Steels do that, but the advantage is at least your finger won't be touching the cutting edge itself if you hold it properly in this position. So you want to choke up on it for whatever reason, do some shaving or whittling work, whatever. Heck yeah, you can do that. I wouldn't go any lower than this position if you want absolute maximum reach. You can throw a lanyard on there if you desire. Pocket clip works good. I like this pocket clip design. I don't love it. In fact, on certain models, I really don't like it because sometimes they put an extremely aggressive texture underneath it and it just rips away at your pocket. But this pocket clip is what it is. It's wavy design. It's not great, but it's not bad either. It works just fine with this knife because it's not super aggressive. It's got some aggressive texturing on there, but it's not like crazy or anything. So there's a lot to hold on to. It is fast. It is strong. It's one of the strongest folding knives of this size out there because of just how thick it is and those steel liners. And of course, who could forget the triad lock? It's extremely strong. It's bomb-proof. It is a bomb-proof folding knife right here. It's not going to be the most versatile because, again, this kukri blade shape, keep in mind, it's got a very specific task in its mind that is for slashing. It'll be this slashing and chopping motions. But for defense, even for thrusting, it'll work well for that too. And again, it's not a super obnoxiously huge knife or anything, so it is easy to maneuver. It's going to be easy to manipulate it, easy to deploy it, which is another advantage to having a smaller knife. You don't have to worry about accidentally cutting yourself as easily with a smaller blade like this. Affordable, $60 range. Not cheap, but not expensive either. Good blade steel, not great, but AUS 10 is certainly adequate. AUS 8's adequate. I think AUS 10's an upgrade. There's more carbon in there, so essentially you have a better blade steel. I'll get into details maybe in another video, but overall I think it's better just to have a little bit more carbon in there. Heavy, chunky for its size. It's not heavy, but it's not lightweight either. It's kind of somewhere in between. But it will take up a lot of space in your pocket. However, you can use it for EDC tasks. It'll excel just fine at that because it's not enormous or anything, even though you have a lot to hold on to. It's a good compromise between being an EDC and tactical blade, I think. A little bit on the more specific side. And it does not have a 1-to-1 ratio. Sometimes you would want the blade to be as long as the handle or as close to the handle length as possible. This is not really the case. I want to say the edge is like maybe 30% of the knife, so it's pretty short in comparison. However, the advantage to that is you have a lot to hold on to, a lot to control. It's more safe to maneuver and manipulate in a stressful situation while keeping the knife legal, so to speak. A lot of places don't allow knives to be over a certain length if they're concealed carry, blah, 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 blah. Stupid, dumbass laws that we still haven't updated yet, I know. But that's just the reality of the situation. So if you're in a part of the world or in the U.S., a state or a county law or something that says you can't have an edge past a certain length, this usually will be able to slip through that little BS law right there. So that's another advantage. So it's kind of a niche knife, but at the same time it's not. It will work for most EDC tasks. Kukris are going to be great for the slicing motion. Most of the time we're going to be doing this motion, slicing open a package, open a box. If you had to cut some rope or something, you could tie it around there, have the blade face away from you, yank on it, pull through it, and then because of that recurve, it'll cut deeper into the cable, the cord, the rope, whatever you're cutting. It'll be good for that. We have multiple positions we can hold this in. It's not the most comfortable in this position. This little guard down here may bite into your finger. I have large size hands, but if you got XL hands and you got a big old bunch of bananas on you or something, this might feel a little cramped. It is a smaller knife compared to some other Cold Steels, but it literally looks like you took a kukri and just squashed it on down. It's really cool. I'm going to show you reverse grip real quick. You can bite down right there if you chose to use it like this as well. Almost out of time here, so let me just show you, as promised, the Rajah II, the big brother to this Rajah III. It's much huger than I thought it was. You can see how much more subdued the handle texturing looks on here. This is the second version, by the way. This is the CTS BD1 Rajah II. Again, used to be AUS 8A, then they switched to this for just a couple years. I want to say somewhere around 2015 to 2017, and then they moved over to this blade steel. But I think the Rajah III also went through the same three steels, so I don't know if that has anything to do with the texture on the handle looking different, but this is a lot more used than this guy right here. I used this for years and years, carried it many times, love it. But look how much huger it is. Yeah, it's going to be way more effective for defense once it's in your hand. It's absolutely ridiculous. So much reachier. Same locking mechanism, same pretty much everything other than the size. You literally just took this one and whoop, just squashed it down. You want something a little bit more EDC-able, but you also want that same menacing kukri style blade. You like everything about this knife, but you just want to step down just a little bit in size. That's the knife right there. It's a Rajah III. Absolutely awesome. Really cool EDC blade. It's cool. It's something different. Tactical, kukri, little EDC blade right there. It's just cool. And just for craps and giggles, I'm going to throw in the Spartan right here because it also has a kukri style recurve on there. Yeah, maybe you don't want it as small as this, but you want a little bit smaller than this. You could go with the Spartan. It behaves a little bit differently overall, but it's a similar knife in some ways too. So yeah, just thought I'd show you some more Cold Steel porn right there. The Cold Steel, like of all the women out there, if knife companies were women, Cold Steels to me are like the big buff ones. Like it's not everyone, not every guy's cup of tea, but you know, some of us are into that, I guess. And I don't even know why I'm saying that. I should edit that out, but I'm not going to. I'm going to leave it in because I said it. So there you go. Again, subscribe if you want to see more Mannix videos, more knife reviews. And if you have any questions at all, any knife review requests, please let me know in the comments, and I may or may not review that knife someday. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for the support, everybody. It really does mean a lot. Every one of you who subscribe, I really do appreciate it a lot. So thank you so much for watching. Mannix out.